Hello, it's Krista here with you again today, and today I want to focus on the topic of narcissism again and cluster B personality disorders, and also something that they do to victims, and that is identity loss. When victims lose their identity, like the erosion of identity of their victims. As they are vampiric, often what happens is they can really suck the living life right out of whoever they choose. Usually their main target of source that they are on at the time, and which is usually the victim that is the weakest and that is letting them into their lives, and usually during relationships of any kind. It can happen anywhere. It can happen maybe with your coworker at work. It can happen be it in your marriage, where the first couple of years were great during the first part of the honeymoon, where they're really sucking you in, or even that relationship with that new girlfriend or whatever that you are in, where everything is great and they treat you, they put you up on that pedestal and they treat you like no one ever has before, and they pump you and pump you and pump you full of that love bombing and tell you how beautiful and great you are and how lucky they are to have you, and give you all these gifts and take you out and to those erotic places, and just really romance you and charm you into where before you know it you finally have both feet into the relationship, and then or there's lots of promises of job promotions or whatever, where they really make you feel important, but when all of a sudden they can pull that rug from under you, when you become all theirs and you give all your heart or attention or devotion or honor to them, and whatever your job is or whatever, where all of a sudden you give your life to them and or all your time to them, when all of a sudden all of a sudden it's like your world starts revolving around them the whole time. What's funny is, because narcissists have to have all of the attention, that's part of how they get and keep their source that they need, because they cannot give that source to themselves. They hone it and they suck it out of another person. Once they know that you finally both have both your feet in, that's when a lot of times they begin their manipulation tactics of all of a sudden they're putting you down. They're not giving you that attention anymore that they once did. Maybe they're onto a new supply already, or maybe they're just starting in on that conditioning phase where they're going to start pounding you down now with, oh, well, what you're wearing isn't good enough, or you look really, immature with your hair like that, or why do you always have to talk like that? And all of a sudden, you're not allowed to speak your mind, and they are humiliating, saying things that humiliate you, that might shut you up or keep you quiet. How they don't like your thoughts and ideas anymore, and maybe they're telling you to shut up or be quiet. Maybe they're shutting down themselves, and suddenly they're not giving you that constant attention they were at first. All of a sudden, you feel yourself being sucked into this relationship, whatever it may be, where all of a sudden they need this from you. Okay, so all of a sudden they need you you to do this for them, and they need you to do that for them. And why aren't you giving them your full attention all the time? Even if it's very subtly done, it's, it can be very covertly done or overtly done, where all of a sudden yourself really actually starts to diminish and fade. Thoughts that you valued once at one time, and priorities that you valued once for yourself, kind of start vanishing too. That extra time that you needed and took to enjoy a part of your day, or to laugh and be your carefree self, and do the things that you once did, starts getting taken up by more time with your narcissist. They're calling you more. They're wanting to know what you're doing and what you're up to more. They're asking you a lot of interrogative questions. Where have you been? What are your friends saying about me? And all these things, until a lot of times they start shutting us down. And we, all of a sudden, they're not laughing at our jokes anymore. They're not finding us funny. And they start taking away our value and worth, and even the fun that we once had, that, maybe that little bit of fun that we did enjoy during our lives. Maybe all of a sudden, when once they mirrored us and lied to us and said that they liked our music, the same music that we liked, all of a sudden they lied, and they really don't like those things. They just become people that you once liked, and then all of a sudden you start questioning it and wondering it, not only about yourself, and you start wondering if maybe the questions that you're asking aren't true, because he's telling you that whenever you stand up to him, that that is not the truth, and that he's actually a very good person, or she's a very good person. And every time that you do start setting boundaries, are pushing right through those boundaries and disrespecting you on a lot of different levels. This is all a part of the process that they use to dehumanize, devalue, evade your privacy, your intimate self, and get into your mind and psychologically mess you up and erode even your own sense of identity and well-being, your sense to even trust yourself. I'd like to dive into this in further videos. This is such a big one that I'm also learning as well. In my own life, I see that how much it has affected me in my different relationships, and how they can even con you into maybe doing drugs with them, or spending all your money on them because they play the victim and they say that they're down and out, and then play like the victim or the guilt game on you, and the shame and blame game, like, oh well, if you don't give me that money for the doctor bill, then you should feel really bad about yourself for not helping me, and I did all of this for you, or whatever. And basically it just starts to take away even physical things in your life. All of a sudden he couldn't help you pay that bill for the new place that you both bought, and you're stuck with paying that, and all of a sudden you can't make those payments, and you go bankrupt, and you are left with just this disaster of not only an inner type of disaster, but a financial one, or like a physical one as well. I know in this last one I really met one that of course got got me to use drugs. Him and his friends got me to use drugs with them. And because of the narcissistic family that I had been dealing with for so long of my own, my parents, being in that relationship as well really kind of kept me in a place where I I I looked forward to. It was like my weak spot to go back and that was my coping skill, was the drugs, and the alcohol and the means of escape by parties and so forth. At the time you think that maybe you're helping yourself and maybe you're doing better, but really even the process for myself is still going on as to learning to let go of those people who just want to take, and really kind of destroy instead of your support emotionally and anything else. It's kind of scary the things that they can do. Like I was saying with my last relationship, it got so bad and I got so sucked into that as I even fell away from the old job I had as a stripper, where I was trying to escape that, met a guy at the bar there, and started a relationship with him, although he just furthered me along. He was almost like a flying monkey of the bar, and furthered me into drug use, and I didn't realize that he had an alcohol problem when it was right in front of my very eyes. So, at that time, I was learning how to break away from those drugs too. But during that, I, am learning to break away from the narcissistic abuse itself from every angle of my life. And I remember when he started when we were living with my parents for a while, when we started doing drugs, he went right to my parents and told him that I was using when I would try to break up with him and get away from it, because my kids were there. And I really did not want anything to do with it. I said, well, we'll just do this a few times. And then, of course, he started hiding it and doing it and sneaking around with it and then getting me to do it as well. So that's another thing that they do. They get you to do things with them, to, do other addictive behaviors. And that's part of how they can keep you and just continue to suck that life out of you until eventually you don't really have anything more to give. I know a lot of times it can get worse when you try to break up with somebody or end it with somebody, be it whatever relationship that will be. And that's why it is so important to kind of keep all that information to yourself when you do leave and go no contact. Because anything they say can and will be used against you anytime by them. So I know that when you fall into the PTSD mode, when that devaluing stage starts, and then it becomes even more into like battery, where maybe they're pushing you around, or they're pushing the kids around, or just things like that, where it gets more dangerous. When that PTSD and that CPTSD starts to kick into yourself, you're just stuck in this panic survival mode where you're constantly just trying to make go on every day with these types of people in your life, and you can no longer handle your emotions or how to deal with even outside. What they do is they isolate during the devaluing time too as well. They can isolate you from your friends and family. They can start, talking with your friends and family about you behind your back, and making you look bad, and do certain things in order for them to isolate you even more at home, so they can up that manipulation and gain that power over you. It could fall into more dangerous levels. I know the last one was so deadly, where finally I did have to leave my house with that guy, and I had to leave my kids behind for a while, and I had to move in with him because I was so addicted to that drug. And we moved into this trailer that was not too far from his drug dealer, and the trailer was filled with black mold, and of course we did not know anything about black mold back then, and we really learned the hard way, and we both got really, 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 really ill, and I still deal with it today. Like, I can't even, my allergies are just off the charts. Sometimes it's hard, certain parts of the year it's really hard for me to go outside when there's like the lawn being mowed and different things like that, when the pollen is up. I have had to learn to use herbs and honey and things and different natural things to help cope with all the chemicals that I'm now allergic to, like even basic scented kitty litter I can't have in my house anymore. Otherwise I'm sick in bed with these flaring nasty monstrous allergies. So in the meantime, after the black mold, my arthritis is so bad all over the place that even now, as I do taxi service for a living, it is hard for me anymore, because after hours of driving, my arthritis gets so bad, it's like my hands just start crippling and hurting really badly. So it really, they can even make you sick. They can take you into places and just, maybe even unconsciously doing it. Still, it's the same thing where they're just like a tornado. Everything in their path they destroy. And, the more extreme the narcissism, a sociopath or a psychopath they are, or the extreme borderline or antisocial, histrionic, even like bipolar 1, I learned that one can be kind of pretty bad as well, especially when it comes to emotional abuse and neglect. So becoming aware of this really opened my eyes, and I started to see for the first time what it was I was really dealing with, and even the cycle that it produced my entire life with these extremely cluster B type relationships, where I had to escape many of my relationships, and up until YouTube came out, I really did not know how to deal with any of it. So the police became involved in quite a few of my past relationships, and the last one sent me to jail. I know even in my family would send me to jail when I would try to protect myself from their physical abuse. And enablers can be just as bad, like husbands or wives or counterparts. So when you're in situations like that, they can be like hostage situations, cult-like situations, where it's all played the same way with just really strong abuse. And so, it's really good for us to become aware that, what we're dealing with and how to escape and how to get out the right way. And, best get out the best way that you know how, if you don't, sometimes we don't always have ways that we can get to the internet or read those books or get that information that we need or join those groups that we need. Because the narcissist, again, or people around the narcissist, like the flying monkeys and stuff, can really make it hard and not a lot of people understand it either, and you might get a lot of like, well, why can't you get out of that? And I know in my case, it was really hard because for the last 2 years, since finally getting a PPO, and still wanting, sometimes am drawn back to that person just for sex, and nothing else. They will take you back and just do it to you like that, or it's crazy. But it's not for the love reasons that you think. Often it is trauma bonding. Just that addiction they get you addicted to, where they're only giving you crumbs of it. You can learn how to get away from all of it. You can learn how to stand up for yourself and value yourself. But I know it can get horrific to the point. I was to the point where I've really been crawling like on my hands and knees out of this like dark hole. Sometimes it feels like I've been climbing this excruciating, painful mountain after going through the black mold and then losing one teeth after another. And I've been on Medicaid for a long time, so you know that only covers so many teeth. And when you and so you know I've had to go through it kind of slowly, because a lot of times we're left out here and we don't have a lot of money. You know, we're lucky to hang on to the money that we do have left after these types of things. And it's always good to get really, you know, learn a lot about finances through this time as well. Just, you know, learn smart ways with your money and things, and about saving in case of emergencies and things like that. So, you know, I've had to really look out with myself through this and also learn. And even though I'm still not fully away from all the narcissistic people in my life, at least I'm at the point where I do talk about it. And when I put it on tape, I can go back to it and look at it later and just keep on file for myself my progress, which kind of helps me be strong. It's really good to write or have a way of expressing yourself, especially when you do go through that erosion of identity, whether it's emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, you know, or whatever. I know in my case, just, you know, being, working through this whole nightmare has been like just something that I've never experienced before, and I don't think I ever want to experience again. But, you know, I really do think that we come down on this earth to learn some things, and whatever we can teach out, we really can receive then the benefits of helping others as well. And you really do reap what you sow, so I'm telling you to be nice today. I know a lot of times they can put narcissistic traits on us, you know, they can rub off on us, and then they can call us out like we're the narcissist and we're the bad guy when we lash out and we act like them. But we're really not like that. When we can get away from them, we can learn that we actually are the nice, sane people that we were once, and we're not at all like the person that they made us out to be. And we can really save ourselves and others. It's really important for us to do that, to get back into a place where we can actually think clearly again, and they don't have that manipulation over us, like, you know, don't give up, keep going, and it's really worth it. So listen to my story today, and I wish you all good luck again. Have a blessed one. Peace.